At the beginning of the story, we are shown a family living happily, unaware that just a few minutes later, something terrifying was about to happen to them. While the husband and wife were busy talking, suddenly they heard people screaming outside. When they stepped out of their house, they saw chaos everywhere. People were leaving their homes and running away, as if something big was about to happen. Jason and Beth noticed that their neighbors were also panicking and quickly emptying their house. Jason asked one of them what was happening and why they were leaving, but they were in such a hurry that they didn't respond. Then they saw the neighbor's son packing his belongings. When Jason asked the boy where they were going, the boy replied that his father's friend, who was a government officer, had said that a highly poisonous virus had spread which turns normal humans into monsters. But before the boy could say more, his mother came and pulled him away. Jason asked her what virus the boy was talking about, to which she replied that this wasn't the time to explain. She told Jason to take his wife and daughter and leave the city as far as possible. Hearing this, Jason and Beth got very scared. Without thinking twice, Jason quickly put his family in the car and started driving out of the city. But on the way, they noticed that the same neighbors who were running away were now coming back. This seemed very strange to them. Soon, they got stuck in heavy traffic. When Jason and his family got out of the car, they saw that the only road out of the city was blocked by the police. Helicopters began patrolling the sky, and the authorities were announcing that a deadly virus had spread in the city, and everyone should return to their homes immediately. Jason found it strange. If a virus had spread, why were people being told to go back instead of leaving? Suddenly, a huge rock fell from the nearby hill onto their car, scaring them terribly. The hill began to shake, and from behind it, 2 military fighter jets appeared, heading toward the city. The jets started dropping bombs all over, turning the entire city into ashes. Beth immediately realized that if they had followed the police's instructions and gone back home, their fate would have been disastrous. The fighter jets then began attacking the people on the roads. Panic spread everywhere as everyone realized that the government wanted to kill them. People started running in all directions to save their lives. Jason and Beth also understood that no matter where they ran, the fighter jets would not stop until they were dead. Suddenly, Beth noticed a school building on the hill and thought it might be a safer place to hide. Jason, Beth, and their daughter Joey started climbing toward the school. Behind them, fighter jets continued bombing the bridge filled with people. The family ran as fast as they could and finally reached the school, where they luckily found a tunnel. Just seconds before another massive explosion, they quickly entered the tunnel and shut the bunker door. They couldn't understand anything, but one thing was clear. If they wanted to survive, they had to stay quietly in the bunker. The problem, however, was how long they could live there and what they would do for food and water. Luckily, there was a lot of expired foods stored there, enough to last for quite a long time for the 3 of them. Jason's wife, Beth, was extremely worried. She kept thinking about their daughter, Joey. What if she got sick? What would they do? While closing the bunker door earlier, Beth's hand had been injured badly, leaving a deep wound. Both Jason and Beth were also afraid that the poisonous virus might have infected them too, but there was no time to think about that now. They had to make the bunker completely secure so that no one could open the door from above. Jason locked the door tightly with an iron chain and decided that they would now spend their lives hiding there. But life underground was not easy. Every day they ate the same food, drank muddy water, and played cards to pass the time. Their connection with the outside world was completely gone. After spending many days there, they started feeling trapped inside that bunker, but they had no choice. Stepping outside meant certain death. This life made Jason's family feel as if they were living through the end of the world. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. They didn't realize that over 300 days had already passed waiting to go outside. Joey would use the periscope her mother had made to see the world above. All she could see was destruction everywhere, as if the entire world had burned to ashes. There wasn't a single sign of human life. Seeing this, The little girl started to think they might be the last people left alive. It was now night time and time for dinner. Their food supplies were running very low, so the three of them ate just a little to make it last longer. But that night, Joey insisted on having a full can for herself. When she opened the tin, she saw it was empty. There was a small hole at the back of the can. Something had eaten the food inside. Beth checked the remaining cans and discovered that 12 of them were empty. Beth looked toward the ventilation grill and guessed that maybe a rat had entered and stolen their food. She said that if it was a rat, they had to kill it quickly, or it would ruin everything they had left. The next day, while Joey was playing with blocks beside her mother, they heard a faint sound behind them. When Joey turned around, she saw a rat again trying to steal food from the tin can. Before it could escape, Joey called her parents, determined that today they had to kill the rat no matter what. Angry, Jason grabbed a knife and moved forward to cut it into pieces, but the little rat was too fast. It dodged Jason's attack and ran off, knocking over the lantern kept on the table. Just as it was about to enter its hole, Beth suddenly lunged and killed it. They were all celebrating the rat's death when they noticed the fire slowly spreading from the fallen lantern. Jason rushed to turn it off, but the lantern was too hot, burning his hand, and when the glass shattered, flames spread across the table. Beth tore down a curtain to try to put out the fire, while Jason filled half a bucket with water and poured it over the flames. Somehow, the two of them managed to extinguish the fire, but their troubles were far from over. The fire was gone, but the smoke had filled the entire bunker, slowly rising through the ventilation vents. Seeing this, they panicked, realizing that the smoke could reveal their hiding place. They all sat silently, holding their breath. Jason said that maybe the darkness of the night would hide the smoke and no one would notice their location. The three of them stayed awake all night in fear. The next morning, to reassure themselves, they looked outside through the periscope, and what they saw made their hearts sink. There was a huge cloud of smoke rising in the air. Their anxiety grew as they realized their secret was probably exposed. Beth said that if there's smoke, then ashes must have fallen nearby, and someone might track them through that. They decided to go outside and clean it up before it was too late. They unchained the bunker door, listened carefully for any sounds, and when they were sure no one was around, they both stepped outside. Now Joey was alone inside, waiting for her parents to return. After waiting a long time with no sign of them, she climbed onto a stool and looked through the periscope. She saw her parents outside, trying to cover the bunker door. But then she noticed something terrifying. In the distance, a dark shadow was moving rapidly toward them. Joey shouted loudly, telling her father to look behind, but the distance was too great, and her parents couldn't hear her. In panic, the little girl forgot her fear and climbed up the ladder, coming out of the bunker. As soon as she came out, she realized her parents were no longer there. Desperate, she started shouting their names loudly. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind and covered her mouth. It was her mother. A few seconds later, a herd of wild deer ran past them at full speed. They narrowly escaped, but Beth's fear grew even stronger. The way those deer were running could only mean they were trying to escape from something far more dangerous. They quickly returned to the bunker. Joey had a doll with her. The doll's string had come loose, and its tiny speaker had started playing a loud mechanical voice in the dead silence of the bunker. Before Jason could react, the sound had already reached outside. He ripped the doll apart and smashed the speaker into pieces, but it was too late. Whatever was hunting them above had now found their location. A heavy thud echoed from above, shaking the bunker. The footsteps grew louder, stopping right over the iron door. The creature had found them. It began pushing the lid furiously, the sound of metal scraping against metal filling the air. Despite the thick chains, the danger was clear. The monster knew there was someone below. Jason could feel each blow reverberating through his chest as the door started to bend. One by one, the chains began snapping under its terrifying strength. Jason's heart pounded as he realized the door wouldn't last long. He rushed toward the corner and began wrenching out a metal pipe from the old water pump. Beth climbed halfway up the ladder, using her own weight to hold the chains tight against the door. Her arms trembled, but she refused to let go. Still, the iron lid creaked open inch by inch. Then, a black shadow appeared through the gap. Two glowing eyes, bright like burning bulbs, stared down at them. Without thinking, Jason swung the metal pipe upward with all his strength, hitting the creature hard. Jason jammed the pipe between the door and the wall, forcing it shut again. The creature retreated into the darkness above, but Jason's hands were still shaking violently. The three of them sat silently on the steps, fear etched across their faces. Their hiding place had been exposed. It was only a matter of time before the next attack came. And next time, it wouldn't be alone. Moments later, the old wooden cupboard rattled violently. Jason and Beth exchanged a terrified look. The creature had called for others. From above came a thunderous rumble of footsteps, like hundreds of beasts running over their heads. This time the force was far greater than before. The heavy iron door broke off its hinges and crashed down, and dozens of glowing eyes appeared at the entrance. Terrified, the three of them stumbled backward as the monstrous figures descended into the bunker. Beth threw her oil lamp toward them, igniting a curtain and creating a wall of fire between the creatures and her family. She and Jason pushed a heavy cupboard to block the passage, buying themselves a few moments. They ran deeper into the bunker, but both knew that their barricade wouldn't hold for long. There was no way out. Just then, little Joey noticed a small ventilation duct near the floor. Jason immediately smashed it open with all his strength and began pushing his wife and daughter through the narrow opening. When it was finally his turn, he tried to squeeze through but got stuck halfway. The space was too tight. Behind him, the creatures were closing in. He had no choice. Gritting his teeth, Jason dislocated his shoulder with a sickening crack, letting out a muffled scream of agony. Somehow, he managed to pull himself further into the vent. Beth, panicking, grabbed his arm and pulled with all her strength. Just as Jason was almost free, a massive clawed hand burst through the darkness and grabbed his leg. Jason instantly realized he wouldn't make it. There was no escape this time. The creature yanked him violently back into the bunker. Seconds later, his cries turned into the sound of a brutal struggle. Beth understood that he was fighting them, sacrificing himself to give her and their daughter time to escape. She picked up Joey and ran through the smoky night. They ran as far as they could, stumbling through the dark ruins until they reached what used to be the highway. But now a towering concrete wall blocked the way. The entire city was sealed off. Suddenly the roar of helicopter blades filled the air. Beth turned around to see an army chopper approaching fast, its blinding spotlight locking onto them. Just as they prepared to run again, a massive net dropped from above, trapping them both. They struggled desperately, trying to tear through the mesh, but it was no use. The net held them tight. Through the gaps, Beth could see dark figures approaching, silhouettes with glowing green eyes. And then, the truth was revealed. The monsters they had feared all along, the beings with the glowing eyes and deadly weapons, were not aliens or infected mutants. They were soldiers. Real military men wearing gas masks and night vision goggles, their lenses glowing eerily in the dark. Those terrifying eyes were nothing more than the reflection of their equipment. One of them pulled out a large syringe and injected something into their necks, one after the other. As their blood samples were taken and analyzed, the horrifying truth began to surface. Both of them carried something that changed everything. Beth and Joey were declared infected with a deadly virus, one that made them a threat to all humankind. The soldiers' orders were clear: eliminate anyone carrying the infection. When the virus had first spread, it had quickly consumed the small town, traveling through the air and infecting people without their knowledge. There was no antidote, no cure, only one grim solution: to kill the infected before they could spread it further. Beth pleaded desperately, crying out for them to spare her little girl. But when she realized they wouldn't, something inside her snapped. Dark veins began to appear across her face, her eyes burning with rage. Yet before she could act, blood suddenly sprayed across the soldier's armor. His face was twisted, his eyes glowing red, and his strength had multiplied beyond human limits. Jason was no longer human. He was something else entirely. He attacked the soldiers like a wild beast, tearing through them one by one until their gunfire finally overwhelmed him. He fell to the ground, riddled with bullets. In the chaos, Beth and Joey broke free from the net and ran. Soldiers chased after them, unaware that Beth too had now transformed. She hid Joey inside a wrecked car and turned to fight. Fueled by fury, she ripped through several soldiers before a bullet struck her down, sending her collapsing onto the car's roof. Hidden in the darkness, little Joey saw it all. Something inside her ignited. Overcome with rage, Joey leapt from the shadows, tackling a soldier to the ground and shattering his mask. She was about to kill him when Beth, barely conscious, shouted her name, stopping her just in time. Slowly, Joey calmed down and the green glow in her veins faded. The soldier, however, wasn't so lucky, and within moments, the virus began to take over his body. Meanwhile, Jason was lying motionless on the ground, his breathing shallow. With trembling hands, he touched Joey's face one last time, traced 2 fingers across her eyes, and then he was gone. Beth's scream echoed through the ruins as another helicopter arrived. Grabbing her daughter, she ran, slipping through piles of debris and crawling into a tunnel beneath the junkyard. There, a beam of light appeared, and standing at the other end was a familiar face. The same little boy from the beginning of the story. He led them into a hidden cave where more survivors were hiding. People infected, just like them. They weren't dead yet, but forced to live like rats in the dark, hunted and feared by the outside world. The virus, it turned out, wasn't truly fatal. It only grew stronger when its host was angry or afraid. The infected weren't the monsters after all. The real monsters were the ones who hunted them. And with that, the story came to its end.